Hey everybody, we are back. We're back again. We're going to do another video on a quick feature highlight. This feature today we're going to talk about is the custom fields feature. It's a pretty new feature. It's in your admin section of your RentKit. So just so you know, I am zoomed in. Don't look quite as clean as they normally would on a when I'm fully zoomed out to 100%. I like to zoom in on these videos just so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what's going on. But I just wanted to note that. So I'm going to hop into custom fields here. So it's under admin, custom fields. You can see that it's in beta. And what you're immediately going to see is the list of fields that have been created so far. If you haven't created any, then it'll be blank. To create a new field, you would go up here. Now, the data entry points for different areas of the application, different documents, right? So the entities that we have available that you can add custom fields to are invoice, the invoice document, the customer document, inventory items, vendors, trucks, users, and then venues. So any of these entities within RentKit can have additional data fields added to them where you can then store additional information about each of those entities. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example today of something that might be added to an invoice document. So what we're going to look at is actually the event type. So if you do an event rental company, a lot of times you want to document what type of event you're dealing with, right? And on the current invoice document that we have, there's no pre-built field for you to note this. You could put it in the notes section at the bottom, which is what a lot of people do. But now with custom fields, you can actually have a dedicated field for that particular purpose. And so it just makes it nice to where you can kind of organize your data a little bit better for your business as you continue to grow and expand, and you have more needs, you have more data that you need to store for these large, if you're doing larger events, obviously there's a little bit more detail involved with some of these events, and you want to put that into the document, not only for internal purposes, but also for your customers to see as well. So you're going to see how this works. I do have these 3 drop-down options to kind of filter the list of custom fields that I have. Right now I'm looking at all entity types, or all entity types and all types of custom fields. That's another thing that's cool about this is you can do different types of data fields, text fields, text areas, checkboxes, drop downs, multi-select, number, dates, email, phone, URL, address, lots of different types of fields. Today, we're going to be doing a drop down for the event type. I'm going to hop into this and you can see all of the different columns of options that you have for these custom fields. If I click over here in the edit, it's going to pull up this. If I were to click create field, it's going to pull up this same box, but it'll be empty, and then you just fill it all out. So let's look what we have here. I named the field event type. So this field is going to be, and it has a key, and then you're going to select what entity it shows up on. So in this case, we're going to select the invoice. We want this custom field to show on the invoice document when we're building an invoice or an estimate or a draft. Okay, we choose the event or the input type. Since I've already chosen drop down and it's saved, it's not going to let me change it. But this is where I would select that type of field. And then you have, you can list what order it shows on. So by default, these custom fields are going to show in the custom fields section at the very bottom of the invoice. I'll show you later. And they'll be ordered, top to bottom, basically with whatever field you created first, but you can reorder those with this field here. And then you have a bunch of toggles here. So is this a required field? Meaning like, hey, we're not going to be able to save the document unless they actually input this data. So we can toggle that on. And then is it visible on your mobile app? So the data entry point for this, are we going to have it show up on the mobile app invoice view as well? We can toggle that on or off. And is it visible to the customer? Meaning this, we're going to actually put this on the invoice PDF. And the payment portal view, when the customer reviews the invoice, we can toggle that on or off, and then we can make it active or inactive. Then we have our list of values, which we will create down below. So you put in your options and you just do 1 per line. So in this case, you can see I've done wedding, birthday, anniversary, prom, graduation, Christmas party, and corporate event. You could add any number of lines that you want, and then it's going to just populate in this dropdown. So then when you save, okay, and I'm going to hit cancel because I've already saved this, but once that custom field has been added to your list, when you go up to your rental orders, we'll pull up an order here. Let's just pull up this one. You can see that if I go down to the bottom of the invoice view, I have this custom fields area, and it has the 2 active ones that I currently have in there. One toggle for custom branding. Does this contain custom branding? And then the event type down here. Okay, so if I select a different event type, I can do that. Okay, once I save this invoice, it's going to show up on the PDF. It's also going to show up in the table list. So if I go back to my rental orders here, you guys probably have noticed there's just a ton of columns and data points for each of these orders. One thing I'll highlight really quick is if you go up here into your grid settings and go to columns, you can toggle these off or on. So if I didn't want any of these, right, I can just go through this, boom, boom, boom. We could probably do this in another feature highlight, but I'll just do it now for fun so you can see. And leave the items, balance, yeah. But every time you add a custom field, it's going to add a new column that you can then see in this data grid. So if I do that and I go, now I can see the event type here, which means I can filter by the event type. If I'm looking at all my orders, I can filter and just show all my weddings, all my birthdays, right? I can export these. I could email them and do any number of actions, but at least, you know, that way it makes it to where you can run different reports for these custom fields. They'll also show up on the mobile apps and on the invoice view if I have those toggled on. So that's it. That's the custom fields feature. Again, you can add these to invoices. You can add them to customers, customer profiles. We can add them to venues and items. So play around with this. It's super flexible, and basically just giving you guys a little bit more flexibility to add additional data throughout the application to make your life easier. See you guys in the next video.